Best pizza in town. There we are, live on YouTube.
You heard it on that. You got it on there. Well, let's get right into retired Master Sergeant Eric Dempsey, Dempsey's Resolution Fitness owner.
All right, play with Scout.
She's going to play with Scout, all the good stuff. Who's going to teach us about getting us healthy on here.
Yeah.
Let's get right into it and start talking about the new issue with unsaturated fats.
Yeah, how about that, huh?
New issue with unsaturated fats. Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, the big thing has always been, with the low fat, and the saturated fat, all the myths and all the stuff about fat will kill you and all this stuff. Well, the real thing, what has happened since the low fat thing emerged as a thing, now over the years, what happens now is people are really aware of saturated fat and are really cutting it out of their diet.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they're switching over to all the new, like, what they're calling now, like, the heart healthy fats. And so you have basically monounsaturated fat and you have polyunsaturated fat. You have omega-3s and omega-6s are the primary ones that people are using in the healthy categories now. Well, what they've done in the as this low-fat thing has evolved, is the standard American diet has now basically replaced like eating too much bad fats with eating too much polyunsaturated fat. And people's omega-6 to omega-3 ratio has become compromised, and because it's now too heavy on the polyunsaturated side. And so what that does is it leads to chronic inflammation, which we talked about last week. Chronic inflammation, which is the root of all the evil things in the galaxy. And a lot of the problems are starting to be traced back to this fat, this unequal ratio of polyunsaturated to monounsaturated, omega-6 to omega-3, right? So basically people are eating too much omega-6, too much polyunsaturated fat. They're not eating enough monounsaturated fat or omega-3 fatty acids. And that is creating conditions that are, meet or exceed the mythical saturated fat stuff and the actual trans fat stuff. So the end state is you need to get more. You want your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, to be in the, at a minimum, worst case scenario, you'd want like a 1-to-1 ratio. The problem is now polyunsaturated fats are up to like anywhere from like 6 to 9 to 1 on the omega-3 side. So people need to get heavy on omega-3s and lighten up on the omega-6s and polyunsaturated fats. So when you start looking at stuff, monounsaturated fats and omega-3s need to be like the bulk of your 30% fat intake per day and per meal. Okay, so omega-3s and monounsaturated fat needs to be the bulk of your fat consumption, if that makes sense. So you still want to have the polyunsaturated stuff in there, but you want to have the ratio basically like you want to get to about a 3-to-1 omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, as opposed to a like 6-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. So more omega-3s, more monounsaturated fats, less polyunsaturated fats and omega-6s, if that makes sense. But that's an actual thing that is now causing, starting to get traced back to through research, and all getting published in the journals, where it's starting to actually become a medical issue, where it's causing, through a variety of mechanisms, it's starting to cause chronic inflammation, which leads to all the other bad stuff in the galaxy. Like, chronic inflammation is now the underlying theme with, your pH imbalance when you have an acidic state with chronic inflammation. That is the environment from which all evil things grow, like cancer, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all the osteopenia, sarcopenia, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, all of the related health and medical issues related to metabolic syndrome and obesity all stem, they're all tied like a spider web to this chronic inflammation and your acidic pH levels. So you want to be alkaline. You want to keep your monounsaturated fat and your omega-3 fats higher, and keep all the rest of the stuff lower. And talking about, remember what low fat stands for. That's approximately 30% of your daily caloric intake, right? And so and that ratio needs to just be heavy with monounsaturated fats, medium with the polyunsaturated fats, and then light on the saturated fats. Trans fat, obviously, you want to avoid. Anything man-made. Anything man-made in God's world is usually a bad thing. Okay, so that be that.
That's that. Hey, well, let me ask you your thoughts on, I've heard about this. I don't even really know what it is. The Mediterranean diet.
Oh yeah, well, it's the latest and greatest when you come to your medical, the medical people, doctor get referred to the Mediterranean diet now. It's like the new wave of medical recommendations. Because it's the Mediterranean diet closely resembles the USDA guidelines for everything. It's one of the closest diets that actually kind of fits the bill with everything that the USDA says, and therefore the medical community says. And so what you end up having is a high protein, basically it's not a high protein. The problem is it's a high carbohydrate, medium to low protein and almost no fat diet, right? And so the issue with that is that macronutrient ratio for overweight people is on the verge of ridiculous. But because you got low protein, you get almost no fat, and you got this stupendous amount of carbohydrates, and they include stuff like bread and wine. It's like I don't know what planet people are on, but if you think bread and wine is cool while you're overweight working on a program, and you think that's I can just get in moderation, right? Well, what's moderation to you? Moderation to me is like a whole bottle, like one whole pizza, one whole bottle of wine. What's moderation for you? One whole loaf of bread. And so that's relative. But you can't have a high carbohydrate diet with low protein and low to no fat and expect anything good to come about long term. So especially when they include grains, like starchy carbs, stuff like bread, and they say, you can eat your cheese and your wine. I can tell you right now, unless you're a sailor that lives on the Mediterranean in a village, and you work on a fishing vessel off the coast of Sicily or something, you're not gonna do well on the Mediterranean program if you follow it by the rules, okay? Because that ratio is just not gonna happen. Now, it's got a lot of good stuff in it, right? Talks about eating fish a couple times a week. Talks about eating, using a lot of extra virgin olive oil, which is good, right? And the fish is good. Talks about a lot of vegetables and fruit, and your whole grains, your whole wheat, and all that. And that's all good. But it's all about the ratio, the big ratio. And it says cheese and bread and wine. Those are all cool. Well, you got to think if you're if you're a fisherman who lives in a little village on the shores of Corsica, that's what you're going to eat, because it was designed by people who live in the coastal regions of the Mediterranean. That's what they got, right? I mean, it's a regional, environmental kind of thing. So, if you're not leading that kind of lifestyle where they're super active outdoors all the time, and they have access to all this great stuff, and they drink wine because their water's probably unpotable, don't think you're gonna slam a bunch of cheese and a bunch of bread and a bunch of wine and make any kind of body transformation things happen, right? That ain't gonna happen at all. So, it's absolutely some of it's just insane. Now, of course, if you starve yourself, which of course if you starve yourself, which is another ridiculous recommendation of extreme calorie restrictions of these diets. Then, once you starve yourself, it doesn't matter what your macronutrient ratio is, because you're just gonna be in death camp mode anyway. So you don't want to be in death camp mode, starving yourself, eating your cheese and bread and wine, thinking you're going to have a salad and a little piece of fish every once in a while and turn into a ninja. It doesn't work like that. There's a lot more to
Really?
it. Yeah, it's crazy. But of course, that's your doctor recommended diet now. Another fail, right? And so, latest research that I read on it showed that when you add unprocessed red meat to the Mediterranean diet in the proper quantities, it actually became a viable plan. Take that, huh? So, unprocessed red meat. That was awesome. They actually did a study on that. And they actually put that in the Mediterranean diet and turned it into a viable thing. Because, number one, you can't win on a low-fat program. You can't win long-term. It's an absolute myth, okay? It's a biological myth, and it's a medical myth. And, people should be ashamed of themselves and supposedly know better. And biology is a great thing, and there's only one biology. There's only one human body, and it only works one way. It's not subject to interpretation. So, a low-fat program, you need the correct amount. Remember, low-fat, low-carb, low-calorie, low this, high that. Everything has a numerical or mathematical value, right? So, what does low fat mean? That means like basically 25 to 30% of your daily caloric intake and your caloric intake per meal needs to be with good fats, okay? That's what low fat is, okay? So, that doesn't mean starve yourself and don't eat any fat at all. But that's what people's interpretations are, right? Got a pat Scout. Hello, Scout Dog.
There you go.
All right. So, be cautious with the Mediterranean diet, and it only says like, only eat that fish like a couple times a week because it's rough, it's fat. Of course, if you eat wild caught like salmon or tuna, wild caught fish, that's a super great source of protein, super great source of good fats, super good for you in all ways, and you basically got to come up with other protein sources if you're only going to eat that fish like a couple times a week. Like I don't recommend eating one thing more than a couple times a week, but you need to like eat something else in its place when you're not eating that. That means you need to have your protein sources identified, right? And a lot of people say legumes and beans and all these things, but you got to check and see how that affects your metabolism in your body. Like when I eat beans of any kind, man, it just tears my belly up and I just can't hang with it. I just absolutely cannot do beans and legumes. So that's out for me. So you got to see if that works for you. I mean, if there's a lot of good protein in that stuff, like garbanzo beans and navy beans, all those different kind of beans. But it's pretty brutal on your digestive system, and you got to check and see if that's something you can handle. And then there's, of course, there's a lot of carbohydrates in them too. You really got to be careful when you're talking about legumes and beans as a protein source because it's tons of carbs, and it may have an adverse effect on your digestion and your metabolism. Like, I blow up like a balloon and just feel like terrible when I eat beans, so I don't eat them. I don't eat them at all, ever. Some people love them. So it's really relative to your thing, but you got to have other protein sources if you're going to do any kind of Mediterranean plan. Like a lot of the good stuff, like eating the salads and the vegetables and the fruit, and you can have a little bit of cheese as part of your protein and fat intake, but I wouldn't recommend a lot of cheese. I wouldn't recommend having any kind of bread. You can have an occasional piece of bread once you've earned your keep. If you're on a weight loss program or a body transformation program, you don't get to have the cool foods until you earn it. If you got weight to lose, if you got something you're trying to accomplish, you need to earn something. You need to earn a piece of bread. You need to earn a glass of wine. It's just giving it to you like, I'm just going to have a little cheat. You got to earn your cheat meals and your cheat days, right? Otherwise, you're just never going to make it. And it needs to be sustainable, So you got to make it so it's sustainable, something you actually enjoy doing, and but bread, wine, and cheese, you got to be kidding me. For whatever health benefits come out of a glass of wine, that doesn't mean a bottle of wine. and really you'd get the same antioxidant benefits probably if you just ate a bunch of the actual berries and stuff and the actual grapes, and a lot less of the alcohol and the carbs and all that stuff. So I'm not a big advocate of the wine thing. If you get to have a glass of wine and you're not losing weight, then you might want to think again. There's that too, okay? Because it depends on your glass, right? Like one girl told me, well, my glass is like the size of the bottle, so it's like one glass a night. I meant like like a 1 liter bottle of wine every night. So that ain't gonna ever work. So be careful about what you're doing, and making a couple modifications turns the Mediterranean diet into a very healthy plan that's very similar to the one I teach.
Well, let me ask you this: something that I could use actually right now.
Yeah.
Tell me about this 5 minute stress reduction technique.
5 minute, when you're having one of them days where you're just getting, you're getting torpedoes left and right to the hole, and you just can't win. Some days you just need a timeout. And so what I tell people to do, if you're having an acute stress period, like say you're just having one of those days where like everything's just going haywire, and you just need to
basically every day for me.
Yeah. So like Joe's daily stress management tips for Joe, and it's like this isn't in the acute stress syndrome. This is the holy mackerel. It's Joe's everyday life. This is Abby.
Oh, and she's got a slide.
Oh, look.
I've never seen one actually.
She's got a fidget spinner.
Is that all it does?
Yeah, that's it. This is the big craze. You ever seen these?
And I haven't
Spin
seen
it.
this.
Go ahead and spin it. Watch this. Oh, it spins.
Okay.
And it spins. Oh, look, it spins. And it spins. I'm mesmerized. Oh, look, my ADHD is cured. And all my other,
I actually thought it did something more than that. That it just spins around and around.
Yeah, I remember, I was thinking like remember the old tops we used to have? We used to spin the tops?
Yeah.
I was just like, man, I just wish I'd have thought of it and made the billions of dollars off of this crap, because unbelievable. But you know what? She loves it. She's happy, so am I.
Why do you like happy? Does it make you feel good?
Yeah, what's cool about it?
I just like to see something spin around and around.
Just like a shiny thing, like,
Yes.
I could crumple up some aluminum foil and hang it in front of you. Would that work?
No.
No?
Your dad told me when you were like a little baby that what it was time like for Christmas and stuff, that you liked the wrapping paper more than you did the gift.
The shiny stuff.
My boys did too. I finally figured out. I just stopped buying them Christmas presents. I just bought them a roll of wrapping paper. They were just happy.
Yeah, just tear up the wrapping paper.
That's why they were like 2 years old. They would just say they'd take that silver wrapping paper, just go to town.
Just go to town. Shiny thing, shiny thing. Don't let Joe mess with you. He's just messing with you.
I'm just messing with you. I can hear Scout's missing Mama.
Yeah.
He's
Got to take care of Scout Dog over there.
All right, 5 minutes. So just
so 5 minutes. So we want to take a time out. If you have one of them days, you just got to you need to just step out, take a time out, go into a quiet place, turn a corner. I tell some people if you're in a crowded place, just turn and face a corner of a wall. Close your eyes for a second. Start taking deep breaths. Just clear your mind. Don't think of nothing. Think of the white light. Just blank everything out, and just work on deep breathing through your nose.
I don't know now. I got to stop you there for a second here. When you're getting older, and I am getting older, they keep saying, "Oh, you're just a baby." I'm not a baby when I'm sure as heck not getting any younger over here. And when you say things like concentrate on the white light, I don't know what to do that one.
The white light, man.
Move towards the white light.
Yeah. Move towards the light.
I don't know.
Just make sure it's not a speeding train, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But you want to clear your mind. Like there's a variety of different techniques. You want to, some people can't clear their head. They can't stop thinking of like a billion things zipping through their head. So you got to think of white noise, white light, something blank that's going to blank the screen out. Whatever works for you. Some people think of oranges. Think of oranges. Whatever object or symbol that can blank everything out, divert your attention, and just eliminate that busy in your head. That humming machine in your head.
Yeah, there's a psychological basis to that too, and that's kind of my area. Is it's actually impossible. Now you can get close to it, but it's impossible to think of two things exactly at the same time. on that. I mean, simultaneously, you can you can be aware of other things and be monitoring them. But
Yeah.
when I'm talking about exactly concentrating on two things,
Yeah.
exactly the same, two different things.
Right.
On that, so that's kind of an interesting point because I know in psychology training they taught us that that's exactly that on that mantra thing of if you're concentrating, if what's bothering you're just like why am I stressed out? I'm stressed because I'm worried about work. Well, you can't think about work and play at the same time.
Right.
You've got to just change it over.
Yeah. So you have to, but you need to get that to that stage where you're getting your mind as quiet as you can. And we're talking about just a couple minutes of this. You just get in a corner, go into a bathroom, do whatever you got to do, go wherever you got to go, get away from the stressor, and then just work on your breathing. Like a couple minutes of deep, diaphragm breathing, yoga style, like where you're inflating your lower abdomen, inflating the balloon, inflating your full lungs, getting maximal intake of air, and you're going to want to blow it out slow through your nose, right? Or correction, inhale through your nose and blow it out through your mouth. And just nice and easy. And do that for like 5 minutes. And, that'll lower your heart rate. That'll just clear your head, make you feel better. And you'll just feel like $1 million in like just a couple minutes. It'll totally change what's going on. And, if it doesn't, then you got a situation you're going to have to address. Because if you can't de-stress like that and take these little 5-minute breaks, then you get a bigger problem that you need to look deeper into, and maybe get some help. But that's just a quick little technique where you can just tune out wherever you're at. Like say you just went into a meeting, had a rough business event or a work thing or, whatever it is, and you just like rattled to the core and you just got to go out, just time out, step out, 5 minutes, work on your breathing, clear your mind, and just resume operations, And so that's just one of a million different techniques.
Excuse me, everybody, for yawning so much today. I was up until almost 5 this morning doing a research project that I had turned in for something I'm working on, and I realized about 9 o'clock yesterday after I had set off that my abstract was incorrect in the chronology, and I had to go back, and I thought, oh, this will be I'll do a quick fix of this. And
oh, yeah.
So I ended up not going to bed last night, so I'm a little bit tired today.
Wow. Schoolwork, huh?
Yeah.
Man, I know, but I know what you mean. And I'm there with you, brother. late nights on the books. And but yeah, and that's another thing too, even when you're like in an academic setting, if you're just getting tired, you're getting rattled, it'll also wake you up a little bit too. Part of the big thing, when you yawn and stuff is you're starting to get an oxygen deficiency. Your O2 levels are getting low and you need to get some big breaths in, right? So stand up and go in a corner, shake it off, calm yourself, be still, clear your mind, and work on your breathing just for a few minutes. And then once you feel better, move out and attack the rest of your day. Stress management is one of those things where you have to take action to make it happen, right? You can't eliminate stress, but you can manage it. So, there you go. All right.
Absolutely interesting.
5-minute technique can really make a difference, though.
And and again, I tell you, and one thing too that I've always thought about that too is just there's so much. See what you say about this. There's so much. So many people look at this and they say, "Oh, I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I can't do that." I mean, even if you if you literally at your desk, and take a minute, just sit there and say, just kind of breathe like that, close your eyes for just a minute.
And even just sit up straight, stand up, take a couple deep breaths, sit down, wring your hands out. Do something, move, After about 30 minutes of sitting, no matter if especially like I know when I'm typing away for schoolwork, after about 30 minutes, I'll just save my work, pause what I'm doing, I'll just get up, I'll just walk around, might go drink some water, go do something, get the blood flowing, get the circulation going before you sit back down for another half hour or an hour. You want to get up and make something happen, get a little activity in. and make sure you're staying hydrated and make sure you're eating your food too, right? So stay on it.
Let me ask you something. This is kind of, we've got another one here, but I'm going to kind of add one in here,
Okay.
if you will, on that, because I just don't think, I think this is, I know, it just seems like everybody that I talk to, the uneducated
Yeah.
people, the people out there, the civilians, I guess, in this scheme of things, that I'd like you to kind of go over again the necessity to make sure that you eat enough food.
Yeah, you know, that's the number one problem that I come across, like when we talk about, you know, I train a variety of these different people that are in different stages of fitness and different stages of, you know, being overweight. And one of the big things that occurs is once you've made the transition, like there's a point in time when people that are overweight, you may have had tons of bad habits, you may have eaten all kinds of bad foods, your calories may have been astronomical, but ever since you made the call to, like, you know, no more, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm going to start being conscious of it, you haven't been overeating since that point. And so as soon as you, what I call the transition from putting the Twinkie down and picking up the apple, once you make that transition to eating real food, healthy foods, you stopped overeating and now you have become, you've entered the undereating realm. Okay, and now the undereating realm.
Can I just say one quick thing there?
Yeah.
It's interesting too is that, and I actually experienced this, and it sounds like I'm being a little facetious, but I'm not. But you know, in my journey that I'm on, you know, right now to try to get healthy, is that one thing, and it's because you know I'm working it for quite some time now, and you know I've had plateaus and issues and stuff like that, but I'm still doing well. But you know, one thing that I realized that I just kind of very recently noticed a change, and I guess this is kind of what you're talking about in my thinking, is that you know, a year and a half ago, to me, overeating was, you know, having 2 double quarter pounders with cheese.
Right.
Okay? I actually today, and I'm kind of curious as an expert, which, you know, I actually today will sit there and go like, you know, man, I'm not being facetious. Golly, you know, I feel bad. I had the whole bag of sliced apples. You know, so you see what I'm saying? You know, it's the good food, but the concept is still there, because even today I'll get. Now, you know, I haven't had a hamburger in almost over a year and a half.
Right.
But I will literally sit there and say like, okay, I feel comfortable. Then I'll sit there and stuff and eat a half a bag of sliced apples.
Yeah.
And then go there and just get there and keep eating them and go like, wow, I just ate a whole bag of sliced apples.
Right.
And you know, you said, you know,
And so when you look at the caloric intake of that, right? You know, it's next to back in the old days when you used to eat the, you know, 10,000 calorie meals.
Literally.
Yeah. So now you've dropped down where you're eating 100 calorie meals, right? You've gone to such an opposite extreme that, you know, it's almost on the verge of being unhealthy. So when you're doing stuff like that, you know, the thing you need to realize is that you can't overeat healthy food. It's really like, the only thing you can really do that with is like nuts and seeds, you know, like the good fats.
And I think the other thing too, and you know, and I know you've talked about this many times before, but I don't think you, and I've experienced this now, is that you don't really, I don't think you really understand this as a participant until it happens to you.
Right.
That that plateaus are a real thing, you know, and they're very frustrating, because you sit there and you say, well, wait a minute now, I've been losing this weight consistently,
Yeah.
and I'm exercising, you know, but it's the same exercise you talked about, and you know, and I'm not eating any more food like that, but I just can't see, now it's like, boy, I was able to drop 10 pounds, you know, now I don't go up one and I don't go down one, because it's like, yeah, so, and then you know, then what happens? And here you talk about what happened. You go like, well, you and I better just stop eating. That's what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
and that's that typical thing. I think a lot that happens.
When you're on a eat less, exercise more routine and you hit that plateau, when you're down to like one meal a day and you're doing like an hour of cardio a day and then all of a sudden it stops, where do you go from there? You know, you're going to take one meal and cut it to a half. You're going to take a half, cut it to a quarter. I mean, you get to the point where you're not eating and all you're doing is exercising all day.
And you really get frustrated because we can't fool ourselves.
Right.
But you look at the mirror and you go, golly, I don't, I eat healthy food. I really eat healthy food.
That's
and
because
and then I go like, why am
people fall off the wagon, and you go into the psychological cycle there, right? Because now you're going to start getting depressed, frustrated. You're going to start heading towards the cumulative injury cycle, which also has a psychological aspect, and so your odds of just becoming depressed, just becoming disinterested, disenfranchised. There's a good chance you could get injured at that point. And just any excuse in the book will just derail you. And you're pretty much just going to like fall off the wagon at any stage of that whole sequence.
I was also going to bring up, because I bring up these things because they happen to me, and I think maybe that it might help people that that say, hey, gosh, that happened to me too. Kind of thing. Is another one that has happened with me is that, and this is a very frustrating thing, is that boy, did I notice something. For those of you who know me well, this last fall I had inadvertently, accidentally, I'm on prescription medication and nothing, not narcotics or like that. It's actually for a seizure disorder. My doctor had me, because I was losing weight, he had not adjusted my dose, because I'd lost weight, and my traditional dose for years, I was getting too much, and it really messed me up and almost killed me. I mean, literally, on that. Yeah. And so I had about a 3-month period that I was just literally, not food-wise, but exercise-wise, I was so disoriented and stuff, and I wasn't doing any of that. And and it's amazing to me. This is a success thing, that I'm telling you that if you will go out and get hooked up with somebody like Eric and just start when you're and the people that you've talked to so many times, that because I know where you are out there. You're out there going like, I'm too far gone. I can't do it, and it's not going to do any good. But I'm going to tell you something that, in my experience, that getting out there, and I mean, when you are and you need professional people like Eric to lead you along. But when you get out there and even doing 5 minutes of exercise, 5 minutes for the first time when you're starting, but consistently doing it, if you'll do 5 minutes of exercise for a week, you'll feel different at the end of the week. You really will. I'm not saying that you're cured and great and stuff like that, but you need to follow people like Eric. You can't do it on your own. You can't make up your own, because you're not an expert in it. You don't know what you're doing, and sometimes. I remember in the early times with Eric, and I've got a long way to go still, but you think you're doing something good, and you're not. Hey Eric, what? Guess what? You remember this one? This was a real. I love grilled chicken, and you know what? I took off all the butter and salt and pepper now, and I use the can't believe it's a butter instead. Instead, and then I found out it was worse for me to have the margarine, can't believe it's a butter stuff on there than it was to have actual butter on there. Yeah. And so you can actually think.
That's because there's so much disinformation and so much, there's most of the mainstream stuff that everybody thinks they know. Like the top 20 things that you think you know, like we could go down the list, and they're also, the top 20 things your doctor would tell you. And the majority of them are just flat out wrong, okay? And they don't work, They haven't worked since the 1970s, and nobody read the study that came out in 1971 that basically just said all the 1970s stuff is garbage. And, it's just a lack of information, a lack of education, a lack of evolution. And it's also part of the marketing machine for all the industries to make billions of dollars off of you. Technically, if you follow the mainstream rules, right, coconuts are saturated fat. So therefore, they're super bad, right?
Yep.
But the reality is coconuts are one of the healthiest things in the world, and medium chain triglycerides from coconuts and raw coconut products are super healthy for you. Listening to that kind of advice is just moronic. It's just ridiculous. So coconuts are like some of the best things you can eat, and that needs to be part of your, coconut oil. MCT oil and coconut oil from, raw, organic, processed, unprocessed coconut. You're going to have amazing benefits of all different types with all the different varieties of different, medium chain triglycerides. So that mainstream stuff, it's saturated fat, watch out, you'll die. There's certain saturated fats, right? Like processed saturated fats are very bad for you. Okay, unprocessed saturated fats, especially when you got grass-fed, grass-finished beef, grass-fed, grass-finished butter, wild, you got big game animals, all this, free-range, grass-fed kind of animals from organic environments. Some of that stuff is the healthiest stuff in the world for you. And one of the things on the plateaus, that you were talking about, those are the kind of things that I teach people, because you got to understand, like you said, people don't know any better, and the stuff that they know, most of it's wrong. So plateaus are gonna happen with whatever program you do. You're gonna plateau within a month or two of doing a new routine. As soon as you start feeling that tapering off process, when things slow down, you're gonna make, in the first couple weeks, your body's really gonna react, and then it's gonna slowly slow down. And then once you get to that point, like 6 weeks in, and that's gonna vary from person to person, depending on the situation, but roughly about 6 weeks in, you're gonna start to notice a big decline in like the momentum, right? And that's when you start getting, like you were talking about, Joe, you're getting frustrated, starting to get depressed, starting to get, you're doing all this work and now nothing's happening. A couple weeks ago it was really happening. But you're doing the same stuff and your body's adapting to it. That's normal. It's going to happen. Plateaus are a plan for event. You've got to have the plan for what happens next. And nobody does. Because they just got that initial plan, like, I'm going on this 21-day super Auschwitz death camp diet, and I'm going to do, 8 hours of cardio and eat a piece of celery with peanut butter and drink 1 glass of water and call it a day and lose 50 pounds overnight. And, don't do anything like that, number one. And it's just terrible. So don't do that. And, you want to have the right amount of the right stuff at the right time in your meal plan. You want to make sure you're eating to support your goals, eating to support the individual, things of that nature. Because you got to eat to support you, not a generic plan that supports the masses, not a 1,200 calorie plan or an 800 calorie plan or a 2,000 calorie plan. What number, because believe it or not, you have a specific number based on your metabolism, your metabolic needs, right? Your needs based on your goals and all that stuff. You have got to go ahead and make that happen so you can tailor it to actually benefit, yourself. Otherwise, if you do a generic plan that might work for somebody else, it's only going to work for you for those couple weeks, and then once you start going into plateaus, it's all done. So you got to have the plan. What do you do? And if you don't understand what to do at plateau time or what's next, then you need to go ahead and just give me a call, and I'll explain it all to you. Because there's a path forward. Plateaus are not the end state. You can avoid plateaus. Like in my program, I teach people to not plateau. When plateau time's coming, you take a route around the plateau and you keep on rocking forward. Because if you know what's coming and you know how it works, you don't have to plateau. It's a natural thing. Don't get upset by it if it happens. Understand you have to have the way forward after that. It's a long-term plan. It's a long road. And you can't just take the first couple steps, hit the first bump in the road and tap out. Okay, you gotta go the distance. So don't fear the plateau. Have a plan to deal with it.
Let's talk about rate of progression for exercise.
Yeah, when people do stuff, and part of this plateau thing, this goes hand in hand. People, after you've done something like the 6-week thing, right? Once you're at the 6-week marker, your exercise needs to be considerably harder and varied and much different than what you were doing 6 weeks ago. And so a rate of progression, so you understand like a number that you have to try to attain. You want to talk about like a 5% increase in performance each week, right? Now, if you had a 5% increase in performance each week, staving off a plateau at the 6-week marker would be much easier than if you go, okay, I'm doing exercises A, B, and C, and I'm going to do 15 reps for 3 sets, and then I'm going to do an hour on the treadmill or whatever, and you have your routine, and you keep doing it over and over and over. After the first couple weeks, it was hard in the beginning, and then you kept doing it, and you got the hang of it, and all of a sudden now it's no problem. Well, 6 weeks later, if you haven't made those progressions in intensity, you haven't increased the speed, the time, how much weight you're using, the number of reps, the number of sets, all of those variables, not changed up the type of exercises. Those are the kind of things you have to do. So 5% is a logical, slow, reasonable, realistic level of progression each week. That means if you're going to take 5% of what you were doing last week, make a 5% raise to, time, all the intensity variables, your repetitions, your sets, your how long, how much, how fast, all that stuff. 5% progress stepping forward each week. That's a goal, right? That will keep you ahead of the plateau monkey, all right? So you got to make it hard. That means you got to do more work each week. It doesn't get easier. The problem is it gets easier and people tap out because they plateau. No plateaus, right? If you're struggling and you're still working hard, you'll never plateau. But the problem is people, they want to be comfortable, right? Comfort zone. You got to stay outside that comfort zone. You need to always stay at least a foot outside that comfort zone. And that plateau monkey will never catch you. But, it's a very common thing. Don't let it get you. Have a plan and step forward and stay ahead of it.
Absolutely. Well, we got just a couple of minutes here. Let's talk a little bit about the 21-day detox challenge.
Yeah,
Okay.
One of the things, I got a hard copy of it here, and I just want to show
I like hard
everybody.
copies.
I know a lot of people don't like the ebook things, but this is the hard copy, right? And, I just want to show people the amount of stuff you get with the program. This is the whole printed off book, right? So you got the actual elimination challenge. It's an elimination diet plan, right? It's a 21-day program. It's got 3 levels. It's got level 1, 2, and 3. It shows you exactly, what to eat, what not to eat, what to have sometimes for 3 different levels. So you can go through this 21-day program 3 times in a row. You can do level 1, level 2, level 3. You can do level 3, 2, 1, however you want to do it. And basically it's an elimination-based program where you're cutting out all the bad stuff. You're keeping only really good stuff. And then slowly after the 21-day program, you start adding things back in to see what affected you and what didn't. Okay? So you can make massive progress to kickstart your program with this thing. I sell it online, and I'm selling the hard copies now. It's got a here's your grocery shopping list for the 3 levels. Thing's got, a complete handbook that talks you through the whole step. It's got all kind of, here you get meal plans. You've got for all the different levels, you get recipes, you got meal plans, right? You got inspirational and motivational tips for 21 days. You got all kind of stuff, all these good things. And as a bonus, what I give everybody, right? This was a part that people didn't understand. In addition to all the stuff you get, right? The handbook, the recipes, the meal plans, the grocery list, all the stuff for the complete 21-day detox challenge program that I run. I give you as a bonus. Now remember we talked about the short duration workouts, Joe? These are 10-minute home workouts, volume 1. Look at that.
No, that's cool.
See?
With a chair like that.
Yeah, see, so that's volume 1 of the, I made this is my 10-minute home workout volume 1 book. And that's with a chair. There's a bunch of different workouts, takes you through a plan, and stuff you can do anywhere at any time in conjunction with this if you don't have it. So that's a free bonus that you get with the program. It's on sale now for $21.
Can't beat that.
You can either buy it online through my site. You can go on my dempseysresolution.com/links.html. Hit the 21-day detox challenge link and you can get it there. On sale, plus the online version comes with a video. They talk you through basically a complete DVD video that you can watch or even download. And
Or they could send a check here.
yeah, or you can get it here, and you can come in and buy a hard copy.
Or you can even mail us a check. We'll mail you one.
Sure.
5820 Moon Road, 5820 Moon Road, 31909.
There you go.
31909, 5820 Moon Road. Just make that out to Dempsey's Resolution Fitness,
Yeah.
and we have packaging here. We'll get it right out to you.
And so this is just one of I'm going to start introducing all of the different information products that I have. I have a ton of everything from paleo to intermittent fasting to stress management, exercise, and all kinds of stuff. And we're going to be offering these here at the ministry building as well as online. So if you're interested in this stuff, and we're going to hold some raffles too in the future where everybody signs up, gets some raffle tickets supporting the ministry, and we're going to give away a ton of free prizes.
Absolutely.
So grab that if you think, and let me know. Remember Eric at dempseysresolution.com if you want to email me for a copy, and dempseysresolution.com/links.html, or you can call or text me at 706-573-4236.
I'll tell you one thing. What we'll do too is the first person that orders one of those. I'll tell you what we're going to do is the first person that orders one of those. We've got some of these. You might want to show this little survival one. We're going to show those as a free gift.
Yeah, an additional free gift. Look at this. These are the business card multi-tools, right? These are great little tools.
I carry one of those in my wallet.
Yeah, they fit right in your wallet. I sell them, Joe sells them, we got them here at the ministry building. Going to be a free gift for everybody who buys our products. Thing's got all different types of tools. It's got a little cool case. You just put it in there and it slides right in your wallet, the size of a credit card. You can't beat these things. This is an essential part of everyday carry kit, bug out bag, survival kit, right? So another gift on top of everything.
And for the first 10, we're going to give them a credit card knife too.
Well, look at that, first 10.
First 10, both of them.
Yeah, these credit card knives are awesome.
Those be courtesy of us.
See? Credit card knives are awesome. You just fold it open. These things are so sharp and they're so little. It's like a scalpel.
Hey, that's a $10 value right there.
Yeah, this is $10. These are $5 each. So
$5 each.
you're getting these for free when you get a 21-day detox program. Plus you get my free workout ebook. You get these. And look at that, thing's a razor blade. And if you want more of these, we can talk about the pricing and stuff on them.
But you're going to get those free with
those
it.
free with
First 10
first 10 only.
On that first 10
Awesome.
On that.
Yeah, good stuff.
And we're going to go ahead and we'll put those. I'm going to go ahead and put those right here with it, so you can have those to show those online. And
Yeah.
On that.
All right.
On that, we're going to get that. Well, we want to thank Eric from Dempsey Resolution Fitness, and Miss Abby, of course. Miss Abby. And show you can see them every Tuesday here from 1 to 2 p.m. on the Ranger's Got a Country Show. And actually the Dempsey's Resolution Fitness Hour.
Yeah.
What it really is on that. But we appreciate it. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in today. And we'll see you again next week. Miss Abby, show us that spinner again.
Let's do the fidget spinner.
The fidget spinner.
Yeah.
Right, okay. All right.
All right, we're out on that note.
Okay. All right. Y'all take care. God bless. We'll see you next week.
All right, see you later.
All right.
Bye.
All right.